The second question concerns finding support. And although we know that finding guidance and support can help people on the dementia journey, we also know that a lot of people struggle to ask for help. And the question is, and we'll start with you, Arabella, and then Brian and Dawn. Did you find it difficult to reach out for support? What might you say to someone who is hesitant to reach out, who's had the diagnosis and knows they need help, or the family says they do?
You know, Fred, I was not hesitant to reach out, but I had difficulty being a widow on my own. I can only have support for myself, maybe some friends. But at that time, I think I tried the first time around and I didn't get to where I needed to be. And uh, it was not an easy going the first time around. And it was not even the support of my siblings that I could find because they're all in the Philippines, and when we had bi-monthly Zoom meetings, they'll tell me, Arabella, just don't think about it. Don't mention it to anybody. It's okay. It's just natural aging process. And it's not something we can do anything about. It will just be. And I think one of my friends even told me, heartlessly, I thought at the time, oh, Arabella, you might as well have Alzheimer's. You're so obsessed with it. Well, I was obsessed. I believe that there's only a small window of opportunity when I can do whatever I can to either stop the progression or at least allow myself to live adequately for the rest of my life without going into the full on dementia symptoms. And I did everything that I could to do that. I was really obsessed. And so um, I looked at all the research. You see, I'm a researcher, and I looked at what Alzheimer's was showing us. And I also realized that I have other sources of support. You see, I already belong to the Comox Valley Head Injury Society, and that was very helpful because I particularly involved myself more heartily with them. And it's like all of the programs that they had, which was weekly lunches and special dinners and dragon boating and um, bowling, which I found I couldn't do with my brain. It just burst my brain. So I went away. And stuff like nature walks and yoga and art and everything, I delve into that very much. Plus, finally, when I found out about the Minds in Motion from the Alzheimer's of BC, then I was able to join in the 30-minute program of exercises and then the conversation and active participation afterwards. Sometimes it would be games like Jeopardy, and sometimes it would be, you know, figure out what the answer was. And I saw that as, first of all, wonderful for my body because I know from my research that exercise is one of the best ways you can keep your brain healthy with the brain derived neurofactic factors, BDNF. And then the conversations were mostly fun and very interactive. So I thought that that was terrific. And then I also belong to the International Toastmasters Clubs, which is 100 years old now. And boy, did I ever have problems trying to figure out how to do a meeting in Zoom, how to present scripts and shares in Zoom, and how to do all these kinds of things. And I was always falling apart the first few times, but my colleagues were kind to me. They helped me out. And little by little, it felt like, okay, I am navigating this. It is not as scary and as isolating as I thought it would be. There's still another glimmer of hope then. And I was very grateful that I had all of this society activities and community to depend on. And also, one of the biggest things I realized is, oh my God, I used to enjoy speaking, but I can't remember anything. I can't write anything. What am I going to do? But I kept getting asked to speak. And at the beginning, I didn't want to. And and then when I was prodded, I thought, well, it could be a lot worse than I used to. And honestly, it's a lot harder, but it still gives me that little bit of ability to do something with my brain. And so I did that no matter how hard it was. And it's getting there. It seems, I think, like Eleanor Roosevelt, she said, courage is having the thing done once before. And each time it got a little bit easier.
Mhm.
And that was how I navigated the support systems that I really needed.
Well, I hear your advice. My takeaway is it sounds like you're advising folks who are perhaps hesitant to reach out to, I know it's to wade right in, to wade right in. And of course, there's that initial, uh, longest walk you'll ever make kind of thing. Uh, Biggest step you'll ever make as well, as it often turns out. It's a warm and welcoming community in my view, in my experience. And that's what I'm hearing you try to share with other folks.
Yes, and if one thing doesn't work, try another because I didn't get to finding the support group yet, but I got to the exercise one, which was fun and very good for my brain. So
And
I,
you got
I
here with
persisted.
us today, and we're glad you did.
Yeah, it was tough.
Now, Brian, on the other hand, I don't see Brian as a guy who is hesitant to ask for anything if he needs it or wants it or thinks it's for the greater good. Uh, is that true or not, given your proactive lifestyle?
Well, you know, no, that's fairly like my professional career has been a lot of advocating for other people,
Right.
people who couldn't speak for themselves, and that wasn't a natural skill growing up. But then again, like I began that when I was 21
Yeah.
years old, and so it's natural now. And as soon as we got a diagnosis, it was Penny, she's a psychiatric nurse who also does a lot of advocacy. And now we're finding we had to advocate for ourselves. Finding the resources, even though they weren't plentiful in Prince George, was fairly easy because we knew where to look.
Mm-hmm.
If we didn't know where, if we weren't didn't have our backgrounds, it might have been considerably harder. You know what I mean? Like we knew the people, we knew people who were involved, but so we what we did is we immediately contacted the BC Alzheimer's Society uh, after I think some people out there, once after diagnosis, we spent about 2 weeks binging Netflix and carbs and crying. Like it was a tough blow. But we Penny, particularly Penny, accessed the dementia hotline. It gave her a place to say what the hell, right? And she didn't have to burden me with that. And then I began going to monthly support groups. And although Penny and I are side by side on this, let's face it, sometimes the issue is Penny, and sometimes the issue is me. And we needed that place to go vent on what the other person, eh? And these support groups were instrumental in allowing us to do that freely and safely.
Yeah.
Because this is a big change, because like we're a team, but you know, and we've also used the educational services provided by like these webinars. The last one we did was navigating the holidays. I don't know if anyone saw that, but that was exceptionally helpful for us. And and what Arabella was saying, Penny's the researcher in our family. I lift things she researches. So she had me, our diet was changed. I was drinking all concoctions of juices. We were, at times it felt like we were grasping at straws, but we did puzzles. We did change our diet slightly. I thankfully she didn't make me get more exercise because that would have been tough. But we have jumped right in, as Arabella, as you both said, wading in, right? That's the only way we know how to do things around here, right? So that's what we did. And
Right.
and the next part of the question would be, what advice would I give? I would start my advice by a statement: ignorance is not bliss, right? Um,
All right.
Joining a support group, accessing the resources, it empowers me with the knowledge that you are not the only one going through life with dementia. These resources will hopefully expose the good and the not so good aspects of this journey. And my support group is thankfully multi-layered, with friends, former professional colleagues, siblings, in-laws, nephews, nieces, my friends in gym, my friends outside the gym. And this is important, that secrecy, to me, as you might tell, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. Secrecy is exhausting. I don't have the time, the energy to be hidden away or purposely hide myself away. This is who I am. This is who I'm going to be for the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. And that's what I would say. Get all the information you can and live your life. There's lots of information out there. Find what you want, utilize, and your life will be much more manageable. And it'll be much more manageable for an overriding thing with me is it'll be much more manageable for your family. If you're confident with what this is going on, they'll be more confident. They won't be afraid to ask you the questions, and you won't be afraid to give them the answers, even if they're hard answers. That would be my advice.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I must say, and I believe that Don will back me up on this, that it was my wife that made the first call as well, and we I think all three of us guys have had incredible support from family members, this generation and the one behind us, the young adults. But Don, I certainly want to ask, because I know you were looking, what sorts of support you found helpful, and in fact, whether or not you have some of the tactics you used when you were seeking more information would be helpful to those of us or those folks who are listening in with us for first steps, if you will, towards getting the support required.
Certainly, Fred. And yeah, there are some similarities. I'm not sure, actually. My wife didn't, I don't think, report me. I think she's still in denial. But anyway, my wife happens to be a school teacher, a nurse, a Bachelor of Science, and an Anglican priest. So I have it covered physically, mentally, and spiritually. Not by intent, I can assure you. It's been a blessing through my life, and my wife continues to be a tremendous support. And also my youngest son. And in fact, I came to the Yukon and built a house here beside my son purely because I needed a support system as I aged, not particularly for the dementia walk at all. It was before that. I came here 10 years ago, but I was living somewhere else where I didn't have any support. So I came all the way here, built a house, and I physically lived beside my son's home. So there's my support system, and I have to now apologize to everybody else in a way, because I didn't look for anybody else. I had no interest in going out and finding support. I wasn't aware there was any. I didn't feel I needed any. But lately, I have been introduced to the society, and in fact, my being here today is, I guess, an experiment in finding that I can get some assistance from the Alzheimer's Association, but that's been new to me. So maybe because I have so significant support from my own family that I'm not in need, and that study. So the men as well in that Zoom group, it wasn't meant for dementia, but it's worked out extremely well that we're now a tight-knit group helping each other, although it has not specifically, it can be finding a new car, it can be finding a new place to live. It's all over the place. We talk about absolutely open, but it's working, and that's working as well for me. I look forward to my weekly meeting with my men's group for 1 hour. So those things all went, I guess I'm saying I'm happy with those, and I haven't really hunted for any support outside. But as things get a little more declining, I'm sure I'm going to have to go to home care and when people can't do transfers, but that's still in the future. So I coming here and doing this webinar, I think has helped me understand that maybe I'm doing something useful, which of course is always a good thing to feel wanted, needed. And the webinar, I think if it helps anyone else, then I have been blessed with this ability. My answer.
That's a good thing. Thank you very, very much for sharing all of that. And what I appreciate about all of the panel members is their unerring, candid honesty about their situations. Because in fact, if we're ever going to be able to move ahead, while in fact we may not be moving, or we may be moving in other directions, it'll be because we've got the guts to put things out on the table and see things as they are, not the way we may want them to be. End of sermon. But your wife can use that if she'd like.